Okay, so we are done with step 2, journalizing the transactions. So after journalizing the transactions, let's now proceed with step 3, which is posting to the ledger. So step 3 is posting to the ledger, or what we call general ledger. So actually, this is our general ledger sheet. Okay, so this is our general ledger. So this is the format of the general ledger. So actually, general ledger is also called as reference book of the accounting system, and is used to classify and summarize transactions and to prepare data for basic financial statements. So basically, this is our reference book for all the transactions, for all the accounts, okay, based on the journal. So here, so when we say general ledger, it's a book of each account. So book ng kada isang account. So individual account. So here we can see all the transactions of the certain account. Okay, if what the date of the transaction. So here in the general ledger sheet, you can see, so you have the account, that is example, this is the account of the cash, this is the book of the cash. Okay, so this is only for cash on hand account alone. So you have cash on hand. So let's use the illustration. Then the account number of the cash is 110. So this is your general ledger. Okay. The composition or the content of your general ledger, you have the date of the transaction that involves the cash on hand account. So every transaction na merong cash on hand account, it's either debited or credited. So it should be reflected here in the ledger. Okay, so also you have the explanation what happened on that certain transaction. Diba? Anong transaction? Yung nangyari on that date regarding cash. Okay, the journal reference. So when you say journal reference, this refers to the page of your general journal. Diba? So we have this page 1 on our general journal. So you have page 1 and you have page 2. So if ever under in your ledger for cash on hand account, that's this date, tapos the explanation, what type of transaction, what happened to the transaction, then what page did you journalize this specific or certain transaction. Then you put the amount if the cash on hand was debited on that certain transaction, or if it's credited. Then we can compute immediately the balance. Take note that the normal balance of cash on hand is debit because it's an asset account. Therefore, every time we debit cash on hand account, it will increase the balance of your cash on hand account. But if we credit the cash on hand account, it will decrease the balance of your cash on hand account. Okay, so therefore, this is your general ledger. So if we try to fill in this first, so this is your cash on hand account. So let's find transactions na may cash on hand account. Diba? Now we have debited or credited the cash on hand account. So let's just go back to our book of original entry, which is the journal. Okay, so here let's find transactions na cash on hand. So here we have September 1. Yes, naa by cash on hand? Yes, naa. Diba? Na cash on hand on September 1. So let's copy the date. Let's put the date first paday dire. Let's add because we have several transactions that affect your cash on hand account. Okay, so this is the actual format of the general ledger. So this is date. You have 2020 of September. Okay, so the first transaction that affect your cash on hand account based on your general journal, you have you have September 1. We have on September 1. Okay, so September 1, sorry. On September 1 on our journal, okay, so 'di ba? So we post the transactions here to their respective ledgers, the accounts here to their respective ledgers. So ito na sa i-classify the accounts, then post it to their own ledger. So we have September 1, we have cash on hand, 'di ba? So that is debit. 950,000. So we can also use the reference, 'di ba? That's the purpose of the reference or posting reference or the account number. So let's just find the the account number of cash on hand 110. So this is cash. This relates to cash. Therefore, that's debit 950. So what type of transaction, di ba? Anong explanation dito? So that's investment of Dr. Alegre. So let's just copy this one. Let's transfer here. So investment of Dr. Alegre. Okay. Okay. Investment of Dr. Alegre. Then journal reference, that's on page 1, di ba? So journal reference, page 1. Okay, that's journal. Okay, journal reference, page 1 or journal page 1. Or you can write page 1. So this transaction can be found on page 1. So again, naka-debit yung amount. So debit 950,000. So let's just, because we are using Excel, so ito lang siyang i-copy. Okay, that's 950,000. Next transaction. So tanaw na punta sa itong journal. So tanaw na to na ba transact September 1, yes, na cash. On September 2, naabay cash. Yes, na cash, di ba? There's a cash account naka-credit pila 200,000. Therefore, on September 2, okay, still on page 1, sa gito nga transaction, that is both medical, or let's copy this one, the explanation. Okay, both medical equipment. Okay. Debit credit. So balikan natin yung 2, that's credit 200,000. So you need to be very careful, 'di ba? Baka malito kayo kung saan niyo inilagay yung amount, 'di ba? This is debit, this is credit. So na-credit yung account na cash on September 2. Okay. So here the balance is, so it should be, the formula here is since 0 to, so okay, plus the debit. So this time you have, this is the running balance. This is the running balance. That's 950 because you have debited on September 1 minus, let's just formula na lang natin to. So that's plus yung debit minus yung credit 200,000. Therefore, ilan na? So as of September 2, how much is the balance of your cash on hand? So you have a balance of 750,000. Okay, so actually your ledger, you can trace, you can compute how much is the balance of your each account of each account. So cash on hand, so you as of September 2, you have a balance of 750,000. Okay, let's find another transactions affecting cash on hand. September 3, September 2, merong cash on hand. How about September 4? Yes, okay, meron ding cash on hand, di ba? So that's 110 posting or account number. Naka-credit 100,000. So that's September 4. Let's copy the explanation. The date is 4, explanation. Then still on page 1. And credited pila. That's 100,000. So credited 100,000. So okay, so pila ang balance karon? So that is 750. Okay, plus the debit minus the credit 100,000. So how much is the balance of your cash? Okay, so 650,000 as of September 4. So mo na nila nabilin sa imong cash on hand. Okay. So naka-formula na lang ni para diretso na siya. Okay, so next, let's find another transaction that affects your cash on hand account. Tapos na sa September 4. September 5, meron na namang cash on hand account. So that is credit 115,000. So this is the transaction withdrawal of J. Alegre. Okay, so let's just copy the explanation. That's 15,000 amount. This is September 5. The explanation, that's withdrawal of J. Alegre. Page 1 of the journal sheet, then credited 15,000. So you need to be very careful. Okay, so as of September 5, pila na lang yung balance ng cash on hand mo? That's 635,000. Okay, next you have September. Next transaction that affects your cash account. Okay, September 7, halos almost all the transactions merong cash on hand. So September 7, that's debit cash on hand 50,000. So that is medical. Let's copy this one. Okay, so that's 50,000. So that's September 7. This is medical services. So this is collection from the services rendered. That's page 1. That is 50,000 ba to? 50. Yes, 50. Oops. Oh, 'di ba careful mo, 'di ba? Na-credit na ako na butang. So maninyo bantayan, especially naka-manual mo when you answer this one. So be careful on what side, 'di ba? Naka-debit ba naka-credit? So here, so nasayop ko butang naka-credit siya. So you need to be very careful. So dapat diri sa kang debit 50,000. Because if masayop mo, 'di ba? Tanan next step will be sayop pod siya. Okay, 50,000. Therefore, September 7, 685 na yung cash on hand natin. Okay, next transaction that affects your cash. Okay, let's add another. Okay. Next transaction, you have tapos na sa September 7. September 9, meron na naman cash on hand, debit, 350,000. Explanation, this additional investment. So that's September 9. 350,000 explanation, this additional investment. Okay, page 1 pa rin, debit credit. So take note naka-debit yung cash natin on September 9. So on the debit side is equal to 350,000. Therefore, as of September 9, meron tayong 1,035,000 cash on hand balance. Okay, so naka-formula na to. So next, let's find the next transaction that affects your cash. You have 9, we are done with September 9. On September 11, meron na namang cash on hand, di ba? So September 11, the explanation payment of the note payable. Okay, binayaran natin yung utang natin dito. So September 3, that's September 11. That's payment of the note. Still on page 1, debit credit, naka-credit yung cash on hand natin dito. So credit 550,000. Therefore, we put the amount on the credit column, that's 550,000. Okay, so yung balance natin ngayon, 485 na lang. So next transaction that affects our cash on hand account, we're done with September 11. September 14, meron na namang cash. Okay, so this is cash on hand. Okay, so September 14, 'di ba? Collection from the services rendered, that's 30,000 naka-debit. So that's 14. September 14 explanation, collection from the services rendered still on page 1 of our journal sheet. Debit, 'di ba? So debit 30,000. Okay. Next, we have September 15, meron na namang cash on hand. So this is our collection from customers, 'di ba? So September 15, collection from customers, naka-debit yung account natin 60,000. This is 15, this is collection from customer, this from page 1 again, naka-debit, so 60,000. Okay, so this is yung balance natin, running balance ng cash natin 575,000. Okay, next transaction. We are done with the first page. Let's proceed to the second page of our journal sheet. So let's find if there are transactions that affects our cash account. Here, September 18, walang cash, di ba? So it's no cash account included here on September 18. How about on September 28? Yes, we have debited cash of 40,000. So this is from collection from the services rendered. That's 28. September 28, the explanation, that's a collection from services rendered. We are now on the page 2 of our journal sheet. Then debit credit, that's debit, diba? Naka-debit to, 40,000. So 40,000, yan. Okay, so let's go back to our journal. So let's find if meron pang cash account dito. So, September 30, we have credited cash account on hand. Oh, walang amount. Okay, so let's supply the amount based on the illustration kanina. Balik tayo dito. That's September 30. Okay, so na-erase din yung amount natin dito. So, you have, let's say, taxes and licenses. That's debit. That's 20,000. Another debit, you have salaries expense. That is 45,000. And another debit, you have utilities expense. That's 40,000. Therefore, okay, so this is 20, 45, 40. This is 20,000. This is 45,000 and 40,000. Therefore, the total credits, that's 105,000. Okay, so here on September 30, we have credited cash on an account 105,000. So let's copy the explanation. That's 30. Okay, payment of expenses, that's on page 2. And credit, take note, credit 105,000. So therefore, at the end of September 30, the balance of your cash on hand account is 510 pesos. So this is the ledger, di ba? This is the ledger, this is the book of your account, each account. So this is the book of cash on hand. So you can see here the date that your cash on hand account is affected, di ba? You use the cash on hand account. So the explanation, what type of transaction, di ba? Which part of the journal sheet you recorded the transaction. Then the amount if it's debited or credited. So automatically, di ba, that this is the running balance. You can compute the balance on a specific period of your cash. So this is the ledger. But for illustration purposes, let's just use the T account. Okay, so actually we can use this one. This is the format of the ledger. This is the correct format of the ledger. But for illustration purposes and for discussion purposes, so let's just use the T account. Okay, this is the T account. So how are you going to make the T account? So let's just use na lang the account numbers of the account. So let's start from the pinakauna, yung pinaka smallest to the largest. So you have, di ba, 110 yung cash. So basically, we'll start with assets. These are all assets, di ba? From 110 to 150. Then liabilities 210, 220, then you have the capital 310, 320, you have the income, and you have the expenses account here. So this T account, diba? Again, diba, it's shaped like letter T. So here, this is the T account of cash on hand. So basically, it's the same what we did here in the general ledger. So same na siya, but under this T account, let's not put na lang the explanation. This one, the explanation and the journal reference. So here you can write the date here. That's September, let's say September 1, 2020. Ano na lang, that's 9/1/2020. Okay, so based on our ledger kagaina, so we have debit 950,000. So here, let's put on the debit side of your cash on hand. That's 950,000. Okay, so you just put the date and the amount, diba? So kung naka-debit ba sa on the left side, but if let's say this is number September 2, you have okay. Let's assume that this is September 2. Okay, September 2, naka-credit ba? Yes, naka-credit 200,000. So let's put 200,000 credit. Ano lang siyang gi-transfer. Okay, para ma-compute na to ang T account. Then the next transaction we have September 4, puro credit and 5. So that is 4, September 5 is credit 100,000. This is credit 15,000. Next transaction, that's naka-debit. let's start na lang with the debits tanan para dili ta malangan. So this is 7, 9, that is 14, 15, and 28. So let's copy the amount. Just move. Okay, the amount for 7, that's September 7 debit here. September 9, you have 350 debit. September 14, you have 30,000 debit. September 15, you have 60,000 debit. September 28, you have 40,000 debit. Okay, on the credit side, that's tapos na yung September 5. The next credit is on September 11. The next credit after September 11 is on September 30. Okay, 30. Okay, so your September 11, you have credited 550,000. And on September 30, you have credited 150,000. How much is your total? Okay, this is your total debits. So let's just okay, so your total debit, so total lang natin to lahat. So that's 950 plus 50 plus 350 plus 30 plus 60 plus 40, that is 1,480,000. Then next, you have 200 for your total credits. This is total debits for your cash account. Then this is your total credits for your cash on hand account. So let's just add. Therefore, which is bigger? So we need to compute, diba, net, diba, net amount. So let's compute the net amount. So that's okay. So that's 140. So which is higher? Your total debits. So debits is 1,480. Your credit is 970,000. Therefore, let's deduct. So you have a total debit balance of 510,000. This is the balance of your cash on hand on September 30. Okay, September 30, 2019. Before adjustments. Before adjustments. Therefore, we can put double rule here. So that means that that is the balance of your cash at of this period at before adjustment. So it is very important in accounting double rule. That means that that's the balance already. Okay, so 550,000. So for the next illustration, let's just use the T account. So T account. So here you have accounts receivable. Okay, so let's find transactions that affect your accounts receivable. So let's go back to the general journal. So page 1, let's find the transactions that affect your accounts receivable. For September 1, no accounts receivable. For September 2, wala. September 4, wala din. September 5, wala. September 7, ayan, meron tayong accounts receivable on September 7. Therefore, September 7, okay, debit credit, naka-debit 60,000. So balik tayo sa ledger, that's debit September 7. Okay, September 7, move natin dito. Center. September 7, ilan yung amount? That's September 7, debit 50,000. Okay, ayan. So, balik tayo sa journal. Okay, so hanapin na, let's find another transaction that affect our accounts receivable. Here, we have September 14, you have accounts receivable. Debit pa rin, magkano? 10,000. Therefore, September 14, debit. 14, debit pa rin, that is 10,000. Okay, again, let's find another transaction. You have here, September 15, you have accounts receivable naka-credit na. That's 60,000. Credit, 60,000. That's on September 15. So it's important to put the date so that when you trace the transaction, you can trace it immediately. That's September 15. Okay, September 15. The amount naka-credit sa September 15, ilan? 60, how much? 60,000. Okay, so let's proceed with second page of our journal if meron pang accounts receivable transactions. Okay, here September 18, wala. September 28, ayan, meron na namang accounts receivable. So you have debit on September 28, that's 70,000 debit. Okay, so let's go back to the ledger. That's debit, September 28. Ilan yung amount? Magkano yung amount? That's debit, 70,000. Okay, so meron pa bang transactions that affect your accounts receivable? I think wala na because September 30, there is no accounts receivable here. Okay, so we can compute now the balance, the total debits and the total credit. So here, okay, how much is your total debit? So you have 130,000, and for your credits you have 60,000. Again, we need to compute the net balance of your accounts receivable. So that is 130,000 debit minus 60,000 credit. That is, therefore, you have a balance of 70,000 for your accounts receivable. This is the balance of your accounts receivable. Naka-debit balance siya nga 70,000. Take note that the normal balance, 'di ba? Normal balance of cash, account receivable, because these are assets, is debit. Therefore, it's normal that their ending balances is naka-debit sila because normal balance is debit. That's why, 'di ba, cash on hand, you have a debit balance of 510, accounts receivable, you have a debit balance of 70,000 because that is their normal balance. Okay, next account is we have unused medical supply. So let's go back to our original book of entry or the general journal. Let's find transactions that affect unused medical supplies account. Okay, or the 130 account number. So let's go back here. Meron bang unused dito? Medical supplies? Wala. September 2, wala. Ayan, September 4, we have unused medical supplies. You have September 4, debit 100,000. So that is September 4, debit. Okay, this is September 4, debit 100,000. Take note that unused medical supplies, these are asset account. These are supplies na hindi pa nagagamit. So September 4, okay, you have 100,000. Okay, let's go back to the general journal. So find unused medical supplies account. Ayan, wala na dito sa page 1, page 2. Ayan, meron, September 18. You have September 18, you have unused medical supplies. That's debit pa rin, 60,000. Therefore, 18, September 18, that is debit 60,000. Okay, balik tayo. Page 2, meron pa ba? Okay, wala na, di ba? So, dalawang transaction lang that affects your unused medical supplies account. Therefore, we can compute now the balance. So, since there's no credit, there's no account na credit natin yung unused medical supplies. Therefore, the total balance now of your unused medical supplies account is 160,000 debit balance. Again, double rule. That means that that is the balance before the adjusting entries. So that means that is the final balance before adjustments. Okay, next account, you have furniture and fixtures account. So let's go back to our general journal. Let's find some transactions that affects your furniture and fixtures accounts. So page 1, ayan, September 1, meron na agad. So September 1, you have furniture and fixture debited. That's debit 250,000. Therefore, go back with the ledger. That's debit September 1. That is equal to 250,000. Okay, balik tayo sa journal. Let's find another transaction. Furnitures and fixtures. Wala na sa page 1, page 2, wala na din. So, ito lang yung transaction, di ba? That affects your furniture and fixtures account. Therefore, that is the balance of September 30. That is 250,000. So, you have debit balance of 250,000. Double rule din natin yan. Okay. Next is medical equipment account. This is also an asset account. So let's go back to the general ledger journal to find transactions affecting our medical equipment account. Wala sa September 1. Ayan, September 2. We have medical equipment debit 750,000. Therefore, that is September 2, 700, okay, 50,000 debit. Okay. Okay, let's find another transaction na may medical equipment account. Okay, wala na dito sa page 1, page 2, wala na din sa page 2. So therefore, isang transaction lang yung medical equipment natin. So that is 750 debit balance. Okay, so next is you have accounts payable. So we are done with our asset accounts, di ba? So tapos na tayo sa assets. So this time, let's proceed with your accounts payable account. So your T account, so kung ilan yung accounts nandun sa chart of accounts, yun din yung T accounts na gagawin natin. So, di ba, 2, because ledger is a book of each account. So, dapat kanya-kanya silang account to compute the balances of each account, to trace also the transactions of a certain account. Okay, so you have accounts payable. So, that's fine. Let's go back to our general journal. So, meron bang accounts payable dito? September 1, wala. September 2, wala because it's a notes payable. September 3, wala din. Okay, wala. Wala dito. Ayan. So, we have here September 18, accounts payable. So, isang account lang ata, isang transaction lang ata yung may accounts payable. So, wala sa page 1. Let's check sa page 2. So, here, September 18. So, September 18 lang. So, naka-credit 60,000. So, go back to our ledger, naka-credit. That's September 18. Naka-credit. Okay, 60,000. So no other transaction that affects our accounts payable. So this is now the balance of your accounts payable. So automatic the 60,000 is the balance. Naka-credit. Take note, di ba, normal balance of liability is credit. So that's why the balance of your accounts payable normal is 60,000 naka-credit siya. Okay, so next we have notes payable. So we have, let's go back to the general journal if there are transactions that affect our notes payable. So page 1, ayan, meron na, September 2. That's credit 550,000. That's credit 550,000. So that's September 2, credit. Okay, take note of this ha. Be careful on putting which side the amount. So that's September 2, credit 550,000. Okay, balik tayo sa journal natin. Let's find another transaction na merong notes payable. Okay, ayan, September 11, naka-debit yung notes payable natin. Because this full payment, so that's debit, September 11, naka-debit. Okay, ilan yung amount? I think 550. Okay, so let's find another transaction if meron pa. 14, wala. 15, wala. Page 2. Ayan, wala. Wala nang notes payable transaction. Diba? So, wala nang transaction that affect our notes payable. Therefore, this is the transactions that only affect our notes payable transaction. So, notes payable account. So, you have total debits. That's 550. Total credits. So, let's compute the net balance. So, you have 0, di ba? So, 0 out na kasi nabayaran lahat yung notes payable natin. Therefore, that's 0. So, credit lang natin. 0. Therefore, nabayaran na lahat ng notes payable natin. So, next account, you have J. Allegri Capital. So, let's find transactions na that affect this account. So, here, September 1, yes, meron. That's credit, 1,200,000. That's September 1, credit. That's September 1, credit, 1,200,000. Okay, balik tayo sa journal natin. So, meron pa ba? Capital. Ayan, meron, September 9. You have September 9, credit din, 350,000. So, naka-credit yun September 9. 350,000. Balikan natin if meron pa. Wala na sa page 1, page 2. Okay, wala na din. So therefore, these are the transactions nga that affects our capital account, J. Allegri capital account. So walang debits, therefore this is that balance of your capital account that is 1,550,000 credit. You have a credit balance of your capital account. Take note that capital account has a normal credit balance. Withdrawals. So let's find transaction that affects our withdrawal account. So sa page 1, meron bang withdrawals dito? Ayan, meron September 5. September 5, that's 15,000 debit. Therefore, September 5, that's debit 15,000. Okay. So let's find another transaction that affects our withdrawal account. Page 1, wala na. Page 2, wala na din. So therefore, one transaction lang yung may withdrawal account. Okay, so therefore, this is now our balance of our withdrawal account. So we have 15,000 debit balance. So that is the debit balance of your withdrawal account. Withdrawal account, take note, has a normal balance of debit. That's why the balance is 15,000. So normal na magkaka-debit balance si withdrawal account. Next, let's proceed with the income account. We are done with the real accounts, the asset, liabilities, and owner's equity. This time, let's proceed with the nominal account, starting with our income account. So income, medical fees. Let's go back to our journal. Let's find some transactions na merong medical fees. Dito, wala. Ayan, September 7, that's medical fees, credit 110,000. Okay, so ledger natin naka-credit. That's September, what date? September 7. Credit 110,000. Okay. Hanap pa tayo if there are transactions that affect our income account. Ayan, meron pa. September 14, credit pa din. That's 40,000. So September 14, credit. That's 40,000. Okay, balikan natin yung journal natin if meron pa. Ayan, September 28, we have medical fees, credit pa din, 110,000. Okay, so that's September 28, credit, 110,000. Meron pa ba? So I think wala na. So these are the 3 transactions that affect our medical fees. So since wala tayong debit balance, so the balance of your medical fees is naka-credit sa 260,000. This is the balance of your, okay, double rule natin, double rule that this is the balance of your medical fees before adjustments. Okay, so take note, normal balance of income is credit. That's why naka-credit yung balance in medical fees. So salaries expense. So let's find transaction that affects our salaries expense. Dito, meron ba sa page 1? Wala. Page 2 ng journal natin. Okay, ayan, we have salaries expense. You have September 30. I guess mali yung amount natin dito. So, baliktad ata yung amount. Balikan natin yung salaries is 45,000. So, baliktad sa taxes and licenses. So, this is 45,000 and this is 20,000. Okay, so you have salaries expense, debit, 45,000. Okay, so salaries expense debit, that's date is on September 30. Naka-debit, that is equal to 45,000 debit. Okay, I guess wala nang ibang item, transactions that would affect our salaries expense account. only this transaction lang. Okay, so this is now the balance. You have debit balance of your salaries expense of 45,000. Since wala tayong credit, so this is now the balance of your salaries expense account. How about taxes and licenses account? So let's try, I think September 30 lang din meron. You have taxes, licenses, and utilities expense, September 30 lang din. So that's 20,000 for taxes and licenses and 40,000 for your, okay, so this is September 30. Amount naka-debit yun, di ba? Naka-debit, that's 20,000. So wala nang ibang transaction. So ito na yung balance ng taxes and licenses natin. Okay, so next you have utilities expense. So I guess one transaction lang din on September 30. This one, utilities expense, that's debit 40,000. So no other transactions affecting utilities expense. So therefore, we have a debit balance of our expense account at 40,000. Okay, so we are now done posting each account to the respective ledgers. Diba? From the general journal, this is the step 3. We post each account on the respective ledgers. We classify them based on their account. So we have here the book of each account. You have assets, you have the liabilities, you have the cap owner's equity account, and you have the income account, and you have the expenses account. So this is how you post your entries from the journal to the ledger. So posting this step 3 of the accounting process, posting to the ledger. Okay, so this is how you post to the ledger. So this time we computed the balances of each account. So this, so for the cash, you have debit balance of 510. For the accounts receivable, you have 70,000 debit balance. For unused medical supplies, you have 160,000 debit balance. Furnitures and fixtures, 250,000. Medical equipment, that's 750,000. Accounts payable credit balance, 60,000. Notes payable, we have zero balance because again, nabayaran lahat ng notes payable, and you have capital balance of credit 155,50,000 and withdrawal debit balance of 15,000. Medical fees, credit balance 260. Salaries expense 45,000. You have taxes and licenses, debit balance 20,000. And utilities expense 40,000 debit balance. So this is now the step 3 of the accounting process, posting to the ledger. So here you can use the T accounts instead of using the format of the ledger. Okay, so for illustration purpose, for discussion purposes, and for the class purposes, you can use the account. I will accept the accounts. But make sure ito yung format. You have the account number, you have the account title, and the dates and the amounts. Okay, so after you post the amounts to the ledger, the next step is preparation of unadjusted trial balance. So we are now on the step 4, unadjusted trial balance.